We had this, as Jeremy was saying, we had the Vanino family here for Shabbat on the farm. And I was just watching them pray on Friday night. And they were praying with such joy and dancing and singing their little hearts out, this beautiful family, that I don't think, I didn't even tell this to you, Jeremy, but I don't think that I've cried like that since October 7th, because it was just seeing the faith pouring out of these people who are just the most righteous. And my heart was breaking, and it's been breaking ever since Friday night, just seeing the news, one after the next. And it reminded me, you know, when the war started, I wasn't able to speak. I was just speechless. And Jeremy kept saying to me, you have to speak to the fellowship members. They're waiting to hear from you. And I said, but I can't. And it felt like an eternity of Jeremy, like pushing me every day. And I remember that the first video I made when the war started was for the Torah portion of Noach, which is our Torah portion coming up this week. And at the time, it felt like an eternity had passed since October 7th until I was able to find my words. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I got on like sort of shaking and pale and just barely able to speak about the portion of Noach. And it seemed at the time that was so long after the war started. And now I see that we're a year after that. I was like, wow, that was the very beginning. And what's so strange is that, do you guys know how long Noach was actually on the ark? He was actually, according to the Torah, in the ark for an entire year. So it's actually like from the time that I've had to study Noach and try to see what his message was for this situation that we're in until coming back to study Noach, he's been in the ark for the entire year, and we've been in the ark. We've been in this ark for an entire year. And so now I'm revisiting this portion and seeing, as we're still in this unbelievably long and difficult period in history, what can Noach continue to teach us? Clearly, we haven't completed the lesson. And so in coming back to revisit this week's coming portion, there was a question that sort of came up for me, which is, why did Hashem need an ark to save Noah? Have you guys ever thought about that? It's not like the most obvious way for him to be saved. Hashem could very easily have just made a little region that didn't get flooded, made a little mountain not get flooded. Here, you hang out here with all the animals, have a little ecosystem. It's not like the world was super duper populated. We're 10 generations since Adam. I think that we could, manage to find a place to tuck Noah away, right? I mean, if you're already making so many miracles, did Noah really need a boat? What is the boat doing here? And what's also interesting about the boat is that there's so many instructions about making it. Like if Hashem is telling Noach to make a boat, so make a boat. It should say Hashem told him to make a boat, and then he made a boat. Why do we need to know the measurements and what it's made out of? Like, why does how big the boat is even matter? What is that coming to tell us? There's only two buildings in the Torah, only two structures in the Torah that there are precise instructions for how to build. It's the boat, it's Noah's Ark, and the tabernacle. The tabernacle seems really important. Like we need to know how to put it back together generation after generation. It's going to be built and dismantled and then brought to Shiloh. And we're going to need to like make sure to have this, structure standing up properly for hundreds of years. But the ark, why do we even need to know about the measurements of the ark? It's not like we're planning on building another ark. Hashem promised not to make another flood anyway. Are we going to like start rebuilding arks all over the place? What do the instructions matter? Hashem doesn't waste words. And then I found a really interesting midrash. And the midrash is very intuitive because it speaks to just what we would know to be true. It says, the ark seems too small. It seems too small, doesn't it? It seems very small. In the measurements, it doesn't make sense. There'd be so many people and animals together and all of the food that they're going to need for an entire year in those measurements. So what are those measurements coming to tell us? Because what's going to happen to us when we imagine this ark and we're like remembering Noah and his ark? This was not like a pleasure cruise. This was not a Caribbean cruise with like nice meals. This boat was really hard. Well, if Noach was righteous, why is Hashem putting him in these cramped, horrible situations and horrible conditions? The Midrash says that Noach actually didn't sleep. He had the Midrash goes into that level of detail, saying he and his children were not able to sleep because they had to spend so much time tending to the animals and feeding the animals. It's like a midrash, but it seems like obvious, right? Like if you're on a boat with so many animals stuck together in like a small space in these cramped conditions, you're going to be working all the time. If he's so righteous, why is Hashem giving him such a terrible ride? Couldn't he just had like a nice cruise? So maybe the ark was not just there to save Noah, but it was there to guide him. What do you do when you look outside and there's just tragedy everywhere? What do you do? He's looking outside, and even though he knows, there's a reason that Hashem is doing everything, he's watching, even if the people weren't, he's watching at least innocent animals be swept away. He's watching little babies drowning outside of him. What do you do when there's pain and suffering that you can't understand? So Hashem told him, you build an ark. You voluntarily put yourself into a place where you're going to have to be kind. Jeremy, you're not going to like this. This is an ongoing argument between us. You're going to have to be kind until it hurts. You're going to have to be kind until you're not sleeping at night, until you're actually feeling enough pain to feel like you're paying back some of the debt of your very existence, maybe. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, he's having to voluntarily put himself on a boat where all he's going to have to do all day is not sleep and not rest and just be kind. And maybe Noach, after this year that he's in the teva, he's in the ark, and we have this year that we're in a similar position to him, watching a flood come over the world that we don't even really understand or don't even begin to understand. Maybe those measurements and that ark is there to teach us that the only way to survive when there's a flood like that is to build our own ark. And what is the ark? It's not just to save ourselves. That ark is to create a bubble where our entire life is really just dedicated to kindness until it hurts a little bit, And Israel is such a holy nation. Jeremy's been hacking away at me to talk to our accountant to get my tax documents. And Tehila, did you do it? Tehila, did you do it? So finally today I talked to my accountant. And you would think that talking to your accountant would be like a super dry experience, right? Like when you guys talk to your accountant, if you have an accountant, it's like, hello, numbers, send me an Excel sheet, right? Like some sort of like nerdy conversation. I called my accountant today. I said, hi, how are you? And he said, well, as good as anyone can be in days like this. And I was about to start asking for the tax papers. And they said, there's only one thing for us to do. This is my accountant, guys. He's not like my rabbi. He goes, there's only one thing to do. Just do more. Do more. If we're suffering so much, and like these boys, these husbands, these men are dying in the war, these righteous righteous families are still being torn apart, it means that every single person has not gone to the maximum. That was what my accountant said to me. You want tax advice? You get Torah in Israel. And I said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to share that on the fellowship today, that I think that all we can do is just be Noah. Just say like, okay, if this is still going on and it's still so hard, I have to be better a lot more until I actually feel that I'm maxing out on better. That's the only thing that we can do, because that's what Noah did. That's what Noah did in the ark. He maxed out on as good as he can be to every single creature that he could reach and touch. He sacrificed everything, his rest, his comfort, to just be kind all day long. And I said to my accountant, well, how do you do that? This is what my accountant answered me. He said, if you pray every single day that Hashem open your eyes to see the opportunities to be good, I promise you'll see the opportunities. Because if you live that way, sometimes you feel like I'm doing the best I can. I've done my best. This is an ongoing argument between me and Jeremy. Jeremy will say, but I did my best. I'll always say, no, you didn't. Because your best could have been better. That's what my grandmother taught me. Your best can always be better. Jeremy would say, but I did my best. I tried to clean up the house. Your best could have been better, Jeremy. And all of our best could have been better. And that's what Noach is teaching us, that our best can be better. And that's what my accountant is teaching us, that our best can be better. And so what I prayed what I'm praying for this season, and maybe you guys will join me in praying for that, is just for Hashem to open up my eyes to every opportunity that I can to be better. Because however hard it is, it's not going to be as hard as it is for the people who are making the ultimate sacrifice right now. So just maybe every person can accept upon themselves to open their eyes to something really hard to do right now in the merit of our soldiers. Maybe that will save some suffering over here in Israel and bring more blessing that Am Yisrael, that the nation of Israel needs right now. So with that, let's just all team up and be a little bit, make our best better. Right, Jeremy?
Exactly.